Good morning, good afternoon, good night, whatever time of day it is for you. Today, I would like to talk about something that is an experience in my life that I find very interesting, and I think people would get a lot out of it. That topic would be my first job. As you can see, the title of this video is something along the lines of why can teenagers get this job? That's what I'm gonna name it. And it just happened to be my very first job. So that job would be one that requires this. Now, what is this? What do you think it is? It's a whistle. I was a lifeguard. That's the answer. Now, I just feel in my heart that this is really something I should talk about. I really thought it would be a good video idea because, oh boy, that whole experience was just some very strange roller coaster of emotions that I don't feel like someone my age should have to go through. So let's get into it. Before I start this story, I would just like to add, because this is important, I'm not dissing this company. For my second official video, I can't believe I have to even say this, but I swear, I'm not dissing the company I worked for, nor am I dissing any of the people that worked there. They were all nice, and they were all awesome, and I have no problems. It's just the fact of what the job was. I personally do not think I was ready for that as a 17-year-old. I really did not think I was ready for that. So the story starts last year, and for context, I lived in Michigan at the time, but I'm originally from Illinois, and so then I came to stay with my aunt in Illinois in the summer, and I wanted to get a job. At first I signed up to be a camp counselor, but then it didn't work out. All of the positions I think were taken for that, so then I was notified that they were in need of lifeguards for that summer. And so then I signed up for that, thinking, okay, I mean, it sounds a little bit difficult, like, you know, they portray it, I think, in the movies a certain way that is just very misleading. It's just not, it's not like, you know, in the movies how they have like the really beautiful looking girl and she's in the bathing suit and then she has to give someone CPR. No, it's not like that. It's not like that at all. Just, you don't just sit there with sunglasses on and stare at a pool and wait for someone to drown. It's actually much more. And I guess I didn't realize that. I knew it was going to be difficult because I knew just in general getting a job was going to be difficult. Especially with my social anxiety that I was dealing with at the time, but that's a whole other video on its own that I will probably make. But anyways, I ended up actually getting the job since my uncle knows people, you know, so I ended up actually getting it, which I was surprised about, but I was ecstatic. I was excited to see how this experience was going to play out for me. So I remember my first day on the job. I was very terrified, but before I could even guard at all, I had to go through some sort of training program. They made me go online and basically take courses, and that took a while. And then also they had to train me in person as well. And I will name you a basic list of what a lot of the things we were trained for are. Basically, we were trained for CPR, first aid, using an AED. If I can remember correctly, that stands for automatic external defibrillator. I don't know. I'll have to recheck that. But yeah, has to do with just a lot of intense medical information that I was just not expecting to learn. They taught us about arterial bleeding. I was like, what? I was like, why are we learning about this? This is insane. But apparently things happen, and boy, do things happen. Now, my coworkers were all pretty sweet. Now, I feel like I should mention the negative aspects about the job first, and then I will bring it back up with the positives later. I like to save the best for last. Because, you know, I'll explain to you why I think this is not a job that teenagers should have. I feel like people should be older to be able to have this job. I did do it, and I did do it efficiently enough, I feel like. But I was a total amateur, though. I swear, it didn't go. I felt like an idiot most of the time when I was doing anything at that job. It made me feel like an absolute garbage bag. Like, seriously, like I did not. I felt like I was too young for that stuff. Like, it was for a qualified professional. And the first reason being because of what I just told you. All of the medical information that you have to memorize. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, oh my god, dude. How am I even supposed to memorize all of that? I don't even know. Because it was like arterial bleeding. What to do if someone gets a concussion. What to do if someone's drowning. Like, we learned saving techniques, like saving people. Second of all, we did not just stare at the pool. That was not a thing. I don't know why in movies they always just portray it as someone who's just staring blankly into the pool, because that's not how it works. We have a scanning technique, basically. We have to move our heads and our eyes around for 30 minutes straight in a certain pattern, just to make sure that no one is drowning. And if you're not moving your head the entire time, which I was pretty good at this, I was complimented on how consistent I was with the whole scanning thing. Whereas, it can be hard sometimes for people to keep their heads and moving and just stay vigilant like that the whole time. But we had like 30-minute shifts, basically. We would sit there, 30 minutes, scan, like move our heads like kind of like this, up and down, kind of in a zigzag motion, and just to see if anyone was drowning. And also you had to make sure to look under your chair, under your stand, basically, because somebody could be under there. And then after that, we would have this procedure that we would follow for moving to a different section of the pool. Also, might I add, the place I worked at was not just a regular small pool. It was a water park. Mind you, it wasn't a huge water park, but it was a significant size. So, yeah, we had to go through this whole procedure of switching employees to different stations. It went something like one person would walk over while they are scanning and then signal with the person who's sitting there that they're ready, pass the giant red tube down, and it was just a whole thing. And it was complicated, and it took me a while to remember it. Intense training, remembering a bunch of different things. Also, I'd say the hardest part for me personally, wasn't even saving people. The hardest part for me was enforcing the rules, I feel like. And that was because still at that time, my social anxiety was really bad, and this was not the job for me, I think, because it involved interacting with people a lot. Like every day you were interacting with people. And I was just this really, really anxious kid, and it didn't go very well when I had to talk to people. And so then, in that aspect, I got a lot of criticism from my employers and my managers because I was having a hard time with that. For example, there were certain rules at that pool specifically that just seemed really awkward for me to point out to people. For example, if you had long hair, then you had to keep your hair in a ponytail. I'm assuming so the drains don't clog, but even still, it was very hard for me to enforce that because it's just so awkward, like saying, "Hey, little 6-year-old girl, can you please put your hair in a ponytail?" Yeah, no. Just no. No. Can't. And I had a hard time with that. Oh yeah, about another thing. When you were at a station where you didn't have a chair and you had to stand up, there was this thing called roving. You had to walk back and forth in a very articulated pattern just to be able to scan correctly. And that was irritating because it was like I was doing the freaking tango or whatever every time I was trying to work, and it was like, how am I supposed to be able to do this and move my head at the same time? Guys, I know this is only my second official video and I'm already sounding extremely salty and irritated, but seriously, there's so many things I have to complain about this job, and again, it is nothing to do with my employees. I mean, the employees. They were awesome. I love you. Don't think I'm hating on you if you come across this. I swear, okay? I hate that I even have to disclaim that, but I have to. If somebody comes across this, they're gonna think I'm hating. I'm not hating. It was just, I had issues with the job. I wasn't ready for it. I think maybe this year I would be ready for it because I'm less socially anxious. I'm more secure in myself. I'm able to do things more adequately nowadays, and I'm just more mature ever since I moved into college and such things. Also, there was one really negative experience I had, which had to do with one patron. When I was putting life jackets on their kid, which, oh yeah, we also had to do that. It was, yeah. I was putting a life jacket on the little kid because that's what I was supposed to do. And she's like, "Oh no, let me just do it." And I'm like, "Actually, ma'am, it's sort of our job that we have to secure the life jackets on the children." But then, me being the absolute idiot that I was, I forgot to do the bottom strap. I forgot to put that on. And then this lady just goes off on me. She's like yelling at me about not being able to do my job, and I was like, and I felt like they hadn't taught me this, but I'm not sure. I may have just forgotten it, so don't get me wrong. I probably just forgot, to be honest. But I told the lady, because I thought at the time, they didn't teach us this, I'm sorry. And she was like, well, they should be training you better, basically. Just going off on me, and I was really upset. And I started crying because I just got yelled at by a customer and I didn't know what to do about it, and I felt really bad that I didn't remember how to do that one thing correctly. And, well, I told my manager about it, and he was like, yeah, no, don't let people treat you like that. And yeah, I agree. And they were, you know, my employees were nice about it. But why do I keep saying my employees? I meant like my coworkers. Jeez. I'm not the manager. But basically, yeah, that one experience really shook me up. There was also another experience where I got extremely overwhelmed one day when I was out there. I just felt like I couldn't do it. I was doing a lot of things wrong. And I started breaking down and crying, and basically then I had to go home because I just couldn't handle it. And so, all in all, I feel like people that are that young, 16 and 17-year-olds, I don't feel like they should have a job like this, because it is a lot to handle, like a lot, like an adult job, like a 25 to 30-year-old level job that I don't know why they're giving to teenagers. Or maybe it's just that more teenagers are more emotionally stable than me particularly. I don't know. But just in my opinion, I feel like you should make sure that if you're gonna get a job like that, that you can handle it. Because it's just a lot. I get overwhelmed easily, so if you're someone who gets very overwhelmed very easily, this is, I feel like, what I should say, instead of that you're too young for it. That if you get overwhelmed easily, it might not be the job for you, because it's a lot to handle, you know? Also, second part of this video, I want to talk about the experiences that I actually had saving people, which I did actually have. Surprisingly, I wasn't expecting to at all, but I had 3 saves that summer that I had that job. And so, weirdly, all 3 of them were at the diving board. 12 feet of water. I think it was 12.9 feet. And all of them were like boys around the age of 8, it seemed like. And so I am very glad that I was able to identify the signs very quickly, and I just went in, dude. I went in. Like, I went in. The second I noticed that, oh, this kid does not look like he knows how to swim, I went in. And the first kid, he actually was able to more so get out on his own. But I had jumped in there because I noticed he was drowning. Then he was able to make it. And he came back to me later and thanked me for saving his life. And I was like, that is the sweetest thing ever. And I'm so glad they were all okay. And then I can't really remember the second time very well. But then the third time, this kid didn't even wait in the line to go on the diving board. He just jumps in. Like, he just jumps in. And I was like, what is going on right now? because, well, you're not allowed to do that. You can't just jump in. You have to wait and jump off the board. You can't. And so I was like, oh God. And then he starts drowning, and I get in there and I have to take him out, and it was really freaky. And I'm just glad those kids are okay. But yeah, so I had 3 saves that summer, which was insane. I guess that was one thing I valued about the job, is it was a job where I was helping people and making sure that they were safe, which is a really nice thing. It's a good service to the world. It really is. And so I really do commend all of the people that wanted to be lifeguards, because it's a very important job, making sure that people's children are safe. Although one time I almost failed on that with the whole life jacket incident. But, you know, it is what it is. And I'm human, I make mistakes, and I never did it again after that, because I learned my lesson. So, yeah. Lastly, I wanted to talk about my positive experiences with this job, because I do actually have a lot of positive experiences with this job, and by no means am I saying that I regret doing this, because no, I've learned so much from this one experience in my life. This being my first job, this being my first job. And if you don't know me, you might not get why I say that, but in future videos, oh yeah, you'll understand why I say that. Because I have a lot of things difficult when it comes to just life in general. And so I was extremely proud of myself that I was able to do that, basically. So the first good thing was that I did sort of make friends there. The people were really sweet. My managers especially were very nice, and I did really like them, and they taught me a lot. And especially with me being a very slow learner at those types of things, it took me a long time to be able to understand a lot of it and memorize it all, because it was just so much for me, and I wasn't used to medical information. And I just appreciate all the patience that they had in teaching me those things. Second of all, we had benefits. Like, we had benefits, dude. We got to do things that normal pool patrons would never get to do. I remember one time, for example, we got to climb up the water slides. I'm not even joking. We got to climb up the water slides while the water was coming down them. It was like the funnest thing I'd ever done on this entire earth. It was so awesome. And especially me, when I was a kid, just loving the pool, loving water parks in general. It was just such a cool experience that I got to do something so crazy like that. They would never let anyone do that if they didn't work there, so I got some privileges. Another good thing was, obviously, even though it was sort of a pain a lot of the time, I got paid for this. I got paid for all of this. It's not like I was volunteering. Nah, I got actual money that I've been able to save up from this that is gonna be helpful for my future. Like, we got paid about $14 an hour, which for you know, a teenage job, that's actually really good, because I know a lot of people my age who'd only gotten paid like, I don't know, like $11 an hour, which obviously there's nothing wrong with, you know, I'm not judging people who get paid less. I'm freaking poor, so trust me, I'm not judging you, but I was just very happy to have a sufficient amount of money coming in every couple of weeks so that I didn't feel insecure financially, even though I was 17 though. I was gonna be fine, but whatever. I was still under the wing of my mother. Now I'm not, but I still sort of am. But anyways, that's another conversation. I think that's all I wanted to say for today's video. So if you watched all of that, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And also, if you have any questions about the job, I will answer in the comments. I will. Or I can make a whole separate follow-up video to this, because it's a big topic, and there are probably a lot of things that I forgot to mention. But thank you so much for watching. Have an amazing morning, day, night, whatever. Bye-bye.